people, purpose, potential, and prosperity. It's time to go beyond business with Sean Nicholas. Luke Matias, welcome to the show.
Good morning, Sean. Great to be here, as always.
It's fantastic having you on the show, and today hopefully going beyond business a little bit with you, because you're a serial entrepreneur. You've got a number of businesses on the go. You've had a number of businesses on the go. Tell us what you're doing now in business life.
Straight off the bat, beyond business, I love this beyond business part because I'm not someone who works and plays, and I've just got this life that just encompasses everything. And then you call me a serial entrepreneur. I have a few businesses, yes, and I've had some that have failed, some have succeeded and things, but I still don't like being called an entrepreneur. I don't know why. It just makes me uncomfortable a little bit. I think a lot of people call themselves entrepreneurs, and I just don't know. I'm not quite sure about the terminology just yet because I haven't created a Facebook or something like that. I think that little word or big word should be kept for, a few. I don't know. I'm just not very comfortable with being called an entrepreneur or a serial one at that. I have a few businesses, and I've gone completely. What was the question?
What are your business operations now? What are you doing in business now?
Okay, so
I've got the audience out there who don't know you for some reason that they don't know you, but that they don't know you. What businesses are you doing now?
I have a core business of in finance, so that's always been the core. I finance three sort of streams. One is cars and everything around cars. That's a passion of mine, so I've sort of built a business around it. We finance assets for businesses, and that can be anything from IT to fit out to huge earth-moving machinery, anything used in business. And then the third major stream is working capital, breathing life back into growing businesses, offensive and defensive sides of working capital, and that's the core. It took me a little while to realise I wasn't a finance person. I'm very different to a lot of my peers in the industry. I'm not saying that's good, bad, or ugly. I'm just saying it's me. This whole revelation of realising this enabled me to go into other markets. Everybody uses finance. We're in Australia. We're in 2019. This is sort of 9 or 10 years ago. Everybody uses finance. So the more people I speak to, the more potential clients I had, and that's the way I looked at it. I've deciphered a lot of this over the years, and why I really did make the movements. And we'll go into that later on, but it enabled me to travel into many different industries. So I have a finance company. I have had fitness companies. I've had product in fitness before, a number of different tech startups. Some are still going really, really nicely. We have a female fashion agency, an international fashion agency. Everybody who comes through our doors, though, finances a car, finances some form of office, finances something in their lives. So the finance being the core was really important to deciphering why I've gone this path. But it's all a case of the businesses all work really well together.
It's a nice little thread. It's always been very bizarre saying I have a finance company and a fitness and fashion and all these different things, and people say, oh my gosh, you must be torn from pillar to post. How do you have time for all these things? And when you take a step back and realise it's one product going into a number of different industries, it's just growing a network. They're not too dissimilar. Everybody who comes from our fashion business comes in a finance car, they leave to a finance store, they want to finance growth. Okay, well, we have that. Everybody who comes in place from a retail or a fitness perspective, they might have a store or they might have ABC, and they all just work together really nicely. There's a lot of synergies that aren't quite apparent at the start. So that's the business setup and structure.
I think that qualifies as serial entrepreneur.
I get called a lot worse.
So with this business or this drive to build great businesses, what do you see as the purpose of these businesses? What purpose do they serve?
I was flying blind on that, really, really interesting, and I was just going along thinking money and pay for family and pay for this, pay for that. there was a period about 2 or 3 years ago now when Kim Vernon, who worked with me, opened my eyes to Simon Sinek's TED talk, Start With Why. And it's a 23-minute talk or something like that. And we were having coffee one morning. She said, you should go and have a look at it. Completely hijacked my day. This is just a regular Tuesday or whatever it was. And I went and watched it. And then I watched it again and started taking notes. I'm a big note taker. I'm a big journaler and whiteboarder and things. Started taking notes, watched it again during I was eating and had a coffee and watched it again. I watched it 7.5 times and then I realised, with all these notes and scribble everywhere that nobody can decipher, that my why is I love to help people. And it became, then I took a step back and thought, well, this finance company I put together, that was just the start. Well, I say the start, that was the rebirth of it. Helping people in other industries, helping people around me, helping my friends, becoming a key person of influence without wanting that title, key person of influence. I just wanted to help people around me, people in my close circle to start off with, people in my larger circle, people who know those people. I really enjoy helping, and that can be in all avenues. And then when I look at the finance side being very important, and then the personal mastery side being very important, and the fitness side being very important, I love having influence in things that I'm very passionate about, and things that I believe can help everybody out there become better, or take the next step, or grow personally, never mind business-wise. So my why was, I just love to help. And that was a real revelation for me, actually finding what I'm doing. What am I doing here? Yeah. You say I've got all these different companies. It's all based around helping everyone around me but become better. And I love that. And it was just putting it down on paper that this is my why was really important to me.
Fantastic. And so that difference now that you've clarified that compared to you were successful in business before that, what difference has that made in the way you go about things?
Personally, it's made a lot of difference. Business was very solid before, it's fortunately very solid now, but we talk about this beyond business. I'm such a proponent of this. Where if I receive a call from a client or a friend or something, whether there's any monetary transaction in place, if I've helped them, then that's the gold. If they call me and say, thank you so much, you introduced me to John or Kevin or whoever it might be, and they helped me change my life, or you've potentially helped me along this road to health, or you've opened this avenue of thought for this other growth. That's beautiful. So the realization of that's what I strive for. And I just think the more people I can touch and I can genuinely help, the business just tends to look after itself. You know, I've got a product that everybody uses. I've got finance. The more people I help, guess what? The better my finance company is going to do. Just the way it happens. That's not the major aim. The major aim is just more touch points with good people, hopefully giving them good advice or bringing them into a good network. I'm so passionate about that. And once they're in and we're helping, then everything's smiling. That's what I enjoy doing. And I find when I'm enjoying what I'm doing, the business again just sort of ticks along nicely, grows, opportunities arise, just with the nature of what I do. It's really interesting. It's taken a long time to get this sort of whole process bulletproofed. And it's still not, but in my mind it works very nicely. On paper it works very nicely. We've created the Matias group, which is my surname, to sort of house all the entities, which took me a little bit of a while to get used to again, because I wasn't used to using my name as a metaphor as such.
Yes.
But it creates that personal yet corporate enough environment that my team can use it, and it leverages off my name so I can do personal things, and it just works. It's just working. It's allowing me to put my message across and without being real.
Yeah.
I'm really enjoy helping. So
that's the path. That's what the businesses are all based on.
I love that, and I love and have experienced that helping, so I understand where it comes from. But just to challenge that, Luke, what happens when it all goes wrong or feels like it's going wrong?
Yep.
How do you align yourself? How do you get back in order? How do you manage when it's all going chaos?
Great question, and it does go to chaos, no matter what you're doing. It does. I mean, only last week, Google was down. Facebook went down. So it doesn't matter what sort of business we're talking about. Things go down. Things go to chaos. How do you handle it? That's a practiced art, I think. I used to lose my calm, and be very. I was very up and down. My energy wasn't quite focused. As soon as things went off track, I would find myself just becoming very stressed. Cortisol would then kick in and stress, and I'd be freaking out, and I wouldn't be able to handle it very well. I identified that as a weakness in myself. It was a genuine weakness. Because of what I'm doing now, stress is over here, stress is over there, and fighting fires in this sort of area. They need to be dealt with, otherwise it affects so many other things right now. Never mind my family and my relationship with my little daughter and things. So that was something I worked on a lot. Influencers like Robin Sharma and a lot of the Tim Ferriss interviews I've learned a lot from, and podcasts over the years. Breathing exercises, and just more for me right now, when something goes wrong, I have to take a step back. I might walk out of my office and go and sit in my car in the car park, engine off and everything, and just breathe for a few minutes, just control my emotions. That was a big thing for me. The guys often ask, "What are you doing?" He's gone sit, and I said, "That's my mindful time. I need to climb over hills. I need to climb up mountains when I'm just sat in peace." I'll then identify a few key points that can be changed, can be altered, and make a plan in place to alter those things. If they can't be altered, if it's variable outside of my direct control, I've got to say, I just write it on a balloon and let it fly away. That used to really stress me. If someone in the market said, "Oh, that guy, I don't like him," it really cut me deep. I didn't like it. I'm a nice guy. What's wrong with you? But the things I can control, I make a plan to control, and without too much stress and anger, try and control those things very, very specifically. That's how I get over a lot of humps, and that happens often. From a micro scale where a client might be struggling to get approved for a deal, or to a macro scale where there's significant issue with one of the businesses, maybe cash flow or projections or something like that. It all comes down to control your controllables. Yeah. And just release anything that you can't control. Just free your mind of it. You've always got 100 things piling down on your shoulders every day. If you can free yourself of some of these thoughts that you can't have any control over, then that's a win. And then just make the changes required. I have to be very focused on that though. If I don't, then I feel like, oh my gosh, there's so many things. So lists, breathing, work through one thing and another. Work through one thing and then another. For me, multitasking is not my best method. For years I've heard, oh yes, I can multitask and I can do many things. And if you've got 5 tasks and each one takes a minute, if I'm trying to do them all at the same time, it'll take me 10 minutes. Whereas if I focus on one thing and blow it out of the water, give it everything until that's done, as far as I can push it, and then move on to the next task, I find that very much more real for me, much more beneficial. So how do I handle it? Take a step back. Remember what's important. Release the things that aren't important, and then just double down on every little focused point.
And you're saying this is still a continual thing that you still practice. How long has it sort of taken you to get to a state where you feel like 99% of the time you can maintain that?
It's still very difficult, and it is still a learning curve massively. I love learning. I love learning about myself. I love hacking ways of making myself better and making myself more efficient. So that's just a consistent thing. And I might say I'm pretty good now, but in 2 years' time, guess what? I'm going to be pretty good, and that's going to be a lot better than today's pretty good. How do I learn about it? I had a really interesting scenario very recently. I had a big issue in one of the areas, and it really affected me. really affected me. And I remember being very conscious about what's going on here. What am I going to do? How am I going to lead people around me so that they know that there's an issue, but they know I'm sturdy at the helm, I suppose. And I looked back on that at the end of the week. I did a lot of journaling, morning and night. And I was really proud of myself. And that was a new thing for me in business, pride in business. And I've had some wins and losses over the years, but proud of myself in terms of how I dealt with emotion that would have thrown me off in past years. That was really nice. Just reading through my journal, my morning and nighttime journal at the end of the week, just thought, geez, I've been through some grief here, but kept my head together, kept my mind on track. I got to that where I wanted to be at the end of the week. It was a horrible path. It wasn't like a straight line. It was way over here. Whoa, over here. But we got there, and I did it without becoming a horrible person or becoming the erratic side that I used to have potentially. That was a big point for me. That was only a couple of months ago. So again, we're putting things in place. We're learning and we're growing and we're enjoying them. And that was really nice for me. Very rarely talk like that. I very rarely say those sort of things, but it's good.
That's good. And so this learning and growing, and it seems that you have this perpetual growth mindset. How do you learn best?
How do I learn best? Okay, so surround myself with great people. That is the absolute first thing. Now, by surround myself with great people, that doesn't need to just be physical. Sitting with you is great, but you can surround yourself now with people. Let's say Tony Robbins. Let's just pick someone like that. You can surround yourself by him because you can digest his information all day, whether it be YouTube, whether it be blogs or vlogs or podcasts. And it gets to a point where if you're listening to an hour of Tony Robbins a day, and you're only seeing your best mate who's a doubter potentially, or gives you a bit of negativity once every 3 weeks, your real influence there is Tony Robbins. He's the person who you hang around with more. So I try and keep my everyday surrounds very positive, very enthused, very on point. Yeah. I've removed a lot of negativity because that just kills me. It just kills me. I enjoy being positive. I enjoy being upbeat, and then that comes from the people around me. So if I can surround myself with good people, whether it be physically or through digitally, I'm learning because they're always better than me at something, no matter what. And if I can just pick up on little things that make my life or my person just that little bit better every day, then that's the goal, and I love it. Because then I can impart this learning on so many other people. Like you take your skills and you just put them on the table for the world to see. And much like, I'm not a massive Tony Robbins fan, but let's just use him again. He could speak to one person and he could speak to 1,000 people in a room, and now he speaks to millions of people on podcast or digitally. That's beautiful. So if you learn one thing from John, Peter, and Steve, and then you put your little bubble around it, then give it to your audience. I think that's what life's about. It's about learning and passing on, imparting that knowledge to others, whether that be your kid or your partner or a million people who listen to this podcast or part of your digital crowd. Yes. I love that. So the learning is constant, and it is an absolute must in all areas. And not just the learning, I really enjoy giving that knowledge to others. Because then you see things, and then you see them passing on knowledge, and it's like, oh, there's a little bit of me over there. It's the most proud thing in the world. There might not be any monetary transactions or anything like that, but that pride is just beautiful, and it gives you goosebumps.
Yeah, a little bit of influence, a little bit of impact in someone's life.
And it spreads, and who knows where it spreads. And someone one day will come to you and say, Sean, you said something on that podcast in 2015, and I really took a lot out of it, and it changed my life. And you won't know this person. No. And you'll just go back and sit down with your herbal tea and think, it's a good day. I love that.
Fantastic. I love that too. And that's why we do this. That's why we do this, and to share these insights with people. Now, you're recently a new dad. How has that changed your life, and how do you juggle that with the life-work balance? It's a challenge for many people when they're in business and this child comes along, or family changes, or situation changes. How do you deal with it?
I love this point because I just deal with it with just love. Again, business and pleasure aren't separated in my mind. I don't put Faith, my daughter, into just the pleasure side. She's just part of this whole life. Everyone's got 24 hours in a day. Why can Elon Musk do more than everybody else? It's because he's efficient in his whole day, surrounded with things that are priorities. I don't know what's going on kitchen rules or married in married first sight. Maths, yeah. I don't have a clue, and I don't care, and I don't watch the news. I don't digest information that I just don't find value in. My priorities are very, very drawn in. I work on myself. I work on myself as a family, and then I work on myself as a business person. And things just drop off. I have a new business, and it gets done. I have a new child, and time with her gets done every day, without equivocation, every morning, every night time. Hopefully sometime in the middle of the day as well. Mindful, mental time, just purely dialed in on making sure Faith knows that her dad loves her. And it's the same with all my close relationships. How did it impact me? I didn't listen to the naysayers, the people who say, oh yes, you're with the boys, oh, your life's over now, and you don't have time for this, and you won't have sleep, and they'll be getting you up every morning. These people don't understand. I wake up 2 hours earlier than Faith every day. Every day. And I try and wake her up because I want some hugs and loves in the morning. How did it impact me? It did impact me greatly. The biggest thing it impacted is my morning routine and my evening routine has changed. And now it's the norm. People know I'm very uncontactable between 6 and 7 o'clock, which is my time with Faith. In the evening, I'll feed her, I'll bath her, I'll read her a story, I'll put her to bed and things. And in the morning, during my morning routine started a little touch earlier. I have a couple of hours to myself in my home office, and then a whole hour with Faith in the morning as a minimum. And then I'll go and train during rush hour and be at the office just slightly later than normal work hours, but I've done more in that morning than most people in most of the day. It's focused attention, and if my focused attention and digestion of information is on point, the priorities get done, and she's obviously a big priority for me. So it has impacted, yes, but not really. Just make things happen. I'm not tried to have Faith for 4 years. I'm not going to moan about anything at all, because I'm just grateful as hell to have the opportunity to have her wake me up. She woke me up at 3:45 this morning.
Even when they become teenagers, you still be grateful.
Well, I'm looking forward to going travelling with her and things like that, wherever she goes, nightclubs and everything. Myself and my brother Paul will be in tow. We're looking forward to it.
Faith in the heavies.
Poor thing.
Poor thing. Good luck, Faith. So with this change in schedule, a change in your daily routines, what's the one thing that you do every day that you can't do without?
One thing, wow. I'd like to say train, but in terms of a one thing right now, I think just become a little bit better. So my journaling every day, that's all focused around becoming a little bit better. Learning from something. Remembering to be grateful for something. At the end of the day, what was good? What to learn from. So that's sort of focused on being better. My time with Faith is about being better. My time in the gym, which I have to do, and it's not, I'll do my sort of 35-minute training session once a day. I have to do it because it makes me better, and I suppose that keeps my stress levels down, and all sorts of different things. Being a better husband, being a better leader. So the one thing in the day I can't live without is that striving to be better. I don't think there's one literal thing. I think just that point about striving to be better is something I just can't live without. I'm not the sort of person who can sit on a hammock for months on end and enjoy the serenity. I have to be moving. I have to be doing something to be bigger, better than my previous self. Personally, family, business. I think that's the one. I enjoy just learning.
And you mentioned journaling.
Yes.
You mentioned journaling. It seems to be a big part of what you do.
Mm-hmm.
How long have you been journaling for, and what impact does it have on you?
Yeah, I started journaling late 2015. I listened to a lot of interviews and things with key people of industry, and I just kept hearing this journal thing. This is years ago, and I thought, what's this all about? I'm not going to journal. I don't like writing. I don't like reading. It just didn't make any sense to me. And then more and more people, journal. Oh, so he journals. And all these key people of influence are journaling in the morning, and I thought, well, okay, I'll give this a go. I'll give this a month. I'll give this 31 days. I'm going to journal every day, morning and night. So that's just a key part of me. I go on holiday, I'll journal. I go out, it's New Year's Eve, I'll journal. If I do miss it, then that's cool, no issue. But 9 times out of 10, I journal morning and night. I'll start by writing 9 points down the side of the page, and then another 6. The first 9 are what I do in the morning. I go downstairs, I have my cold shower, and I go downstairs, and I write 3 things that I'm grateful for. So the first thing I do mentally every day is write down 3 things that I'm grateful for. Like this morning, I spoke to my grandparents. They're very important to me. I've still got 3 grandparents right now. A couple of them are holding on, and just listening to their voice and remembering where I'm from and things like that. So real things that I'm grateful for, not just, I'm grateful for that nonsense luxury item that you might have. 3 things that are going to make today magnificent, and then 3 things that I am, my daily affirmations. And then at night time, before I go upstairs and give myself permission to sort of wind down, I write 3 things that made today magnificent, and then 3 things that I can learn from today. It's great because when I go upstairs in the evening and I might have 100 things going through my mind, once I've journaled, I just feel like the weight's off my shoulders. It's the only time where I use an actual pen. I don't like digitally journaling. I just like a nice fountain pen and slowly write with real ink on a page. And what's great is it frees you up in that moment, but then when you look back at things that have impacted you very significantly, whether it be a good month in business, a bad month in business, whether it be a really big argument with your partner, whether it be difficulty falling pregnant, whether it be the highs and lows of ABC, you can literally look back over August 2017 and read what you were grateful for, where your mindset was, what was making days great, what was I should have been learning from on those days. And you just think, you put your head back in that time, and if it was a good time, you think, I've got to do more of this. If it was a bad time, then you think, I've got to remember to stay away from these things. That's where my mind was, and the mind wasn't in a good place. So I've got to focus now, because I can feel myself going down a hill again. I've got to focus on bringing myself away from those thoughts. So it's a really good, I find it a really good way of analysing yourself. I'm all about information. I track everything. Numbers in business, numbers personally, numbers in whatever it is. That's my way of tracking my physical, my personal self to become better. That's my sort of north star.
Excellent.
Yeah, I can't recommend it highly enough. For someone like me, it's just absolutely required.
And it sounds like that journaling is having, well, you're in finance, so compounding interest effect, but it's having like a compounding impact effect, where you can go back and you can build on those pieces that you've written out.
Absolutely. The more data, the merrier. You know, that's what it comes down to. Everything's about everything in business now. Your Google searches, your shopping habits, your Facebook algorithms, all these different things are all about data. I'm gaining data on myself, real data every day. And the more honest I am with my journaling, if I feel rubbish, I write down that I feel rubbish and why I feel rubbish. And if I feel like I'm living one life and saying another, if I'm being fake to myself, I write it down. It's genuinely honest with myself. I'm not telling everybody, or not telling myself, because I'm not the only person who reads this. I'm not saying, I'm 100% all the time. I've got to be real. And then you learn. And then as long as it's just little percentage increases, then that's just vital for me. and can be for everybody.
Yeah, great.
So it's just data on yourself. Holy cow!
Now, talking about data on yourself and algorithms, if we took apart the algorithms of some of these social media or YouTube, if we took apart the algorithm of Luke's YouTube feed, what would we see popping up on the YouTube channel?
A lot of learning. It's a great question, actually. There's just been a few bodybuilding competitions, so I like keeping an eye on that. I've got a personal goal of getting back on stage later this year, so just keeping an eye on what's happening there. A lot of learning, a lot of interviews, and probably a little bit of old school WWE.
Hey. Smackdown, Slam.
Big fan growing up. Not so much a fan anymore of the current stuff, but I still just I see Hulk Hogan's top villains or something like that. I enjoy watching that.
So just on that, you have a really close relationship with your brother.
Yes.
How much WWE did you and your brother get up to?
We used to. Oh my God, we're both semi-decent sized guys, and growing up we were just constantly on each other, just like brothers are. And then when we became adults, we would just wrestle. And when he started moving out to Australia, sort of 10 years ago, we would just wrestle and mixed martial arts and grapple and jiu-jitsu and all these different things with no rules, and it's brother and brother. There's a lot of pride involved, and we were told we had to stop. All the females in our life got very angry one day and decided we had to stop. So it was a big part of us growing up. I think I can still take him. I'm just saying.
Paul, I mean, it's a challenge.
No, we're a tag team now. We're not
Tag team.
The
British Bulldogs revival.
Exactly.
British Bulldogs revival. I love it. Luke, it's been great having you on the show. I've loved going beyond business with you. How can people get in touch with you and get around you and find out more about what you do?
We're very active on social media. The whole point of this beyond business and living a real life is I'm happy to put as many pieces of information out on social media as possible. Our Matias group pages on Facebook, Insta, YouTube, LinkedIn get added to every day. Luke at matiasgroup.com.au is my preferred email, and I'm always here to answer questions or just help in any way or introduce people to my network or whatever I can do. It's a genuine passion of mine, and I put myself out there so I'm easily available for so many. So yes, more than happy to reach out or talk.
Excellent.
To anybody I can help.
Thank you for being on the show, and it's been great going beyond business with you, and I'm sure that we'll do more of it in the future. It's always a pleasure. Luke Matias, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you like, comment, share and review, and be sure to subscribe to Beyond Business with Sean Nicholas.